Sometimes love doesn't begin with fireworks. Sometimes it begins with a joke, a half-meant promise, a stand-in that slowly feels too real. This is the story of Brianna and Paige, two friends who thought they were only pretending until they realized practice might already be the real thing. The drizzle tapped softly on the tin roof of the old bus stop. Brianna sat with her chin in her hand, looking tired and restless. She let out a heavy sigh. You know what's exhausting? Liking people who don't even notice me. Every crush ends the same way. Beside her, Paige nudged her shoulder with a teasing grin. Maybe that's because you're always aiming for the fairy tale. You want the K-drama lead, tragic, mysterious, impossible. Brianna's lips curled into a pout, though a small laugh slipped out. And you? Don't you ever fall for anyone? Don't you ever get your heart broken? Paige leaned back, crossing her arms as if the answer was obvious. Why bother, when I can just be your stand-in girlfriend? Brianna blinked, startled, her eyes snapping toward Paige. Stand-in girlfriend? You're kidding, right? Paige tilted her head, her grin only widening as she leaned a little closer. Practice only, a trial run, so when the real one comes along, you'll know exactly what to do. And besides, she smirked, I'm always here anyway. Brianna shook her head, but the laugh that escaped her wasn't the same as before. It lingered in the air, light, but loaded with something neither of them wanted to admit. The days that followed turned the joke into something dangerously close to routine. At the mall, Paige reached out and laced her fingers with Brianna's, swinging their hands like they'd been a couple forever. Brianna blushed but didn't let go. At the cafe, Paige slid a cup of latte across the table. Girlfriend duties, remember? She teased, eyes glinting with mischief. And on the bus ride home, when Brianna leaned her head against Paige's shoulder, Paige froze for a second, then smiled, soft and protective, as though she wanted that moment to last forever. Pretend was no longer pretend. One quiet night, the glow of the streetlights followed them home. Brianna slowed her steps, her voice breaking the silence. This doesn't feel like practice anymore, she whispered. Because I'm not pretending. Paige stopped walking. The teasing sparkle in her eyes was gone, replaced by something vulnerable. Her voice was barely audible. What if I'm not pretending either? The world seemed to hold its breath. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was alive, trembling with everything they hadn't said, and their story hung in the air, unfinished. The night air was cool, but Brianna's chest burned. She hadn't expected to say it out loud, and she hadn't expected Paige to answer the same way. They stood under the pale streetlight, silence stretching between them. Brianna's fingers fidgeted with the strap of her bag. So, what does that even mean? Paige let out a shaky laugh, almost nervous, something rare for her. I don't know. Maybe it means I've been a terrible liar. They continued walking, slower this time, like the world had suddenly shifted. Paige shoved her hands into her pockets, trying to act casual, but her voice betrayed her. You know, I didn't think this stand-in thing would get to me, but sometimes when we hold hands or when you lean on me, I forget it's not real. Brianna's steps faltered. She looked down at the pavement, afraid of what her own heart was screaming. And if it feels real to me too. Paige stopped walking, turning to face her. Her grin was gone. Instead, there was something raw in her eyes, something Brianna had never seen before. For a moment, it looked like Paige was going to close the distance between them. But then, a car passed by, headlights sweeping over them, breaking the spell. Paige took a step back instead. The silence this time wasn't charged. It was heavy. Brianna crossed her arms, hugging herself as though to keep steady. You make it sound so easy, like it's just another game. Paige's jaw tightened. It's not a game to me. Not anymore. Her voice cracked at the edges, and that scared Brianna more than anything. They reached Brianna's house, the porch light glowing faintly. She lingered at the gate, her heart pounding in her ears. Paige shifted on her feet, eyes locked on hers. If this isn't pretend anymore, then what are we doing? Brianna opened her mouth, but the words tangled in her throat. All she could manage was a whisper. I don't know. Paige gave a small nod, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Then maybe we should figure it out. Together. The night ended with no goodbyes, only the weight of everything unsaid. Brianna closed the door behind her, leaning against it as her knees trembled. Across the street, Paige walked away slowly, shoving her hands deeper into her pockets, her smile long gone. Both of them knew it. This was no longer a rehearsal. And the scary part was admitting what came next. The cafeteria was buzzing with chatter, but all Brianna could hear was the endless ding of Paige's phone. She stabbed at her food half-heartedly, pretending not to care. You're popular today, Paige chuckled, tilting her phone away so Brianna couldn't see. Just someone I know. Something twisted inside Brianna's chest. Someone, huh? Paige looked up, eyebrows raised at the sharpness in her tone. Why, you jealous? Brianna nearly choked on her drink. I what? No, why would I be? But the heat rising to her cheeks betrayed her. Later that afternoon, Brianna saw her. Tall, pretty, effortlessly confident. The girl laughing beside Paige like they'd known each other forever. Brianna froze at the corner of the hallway, her hands curling into fists at her side. The girl leaned closer to Paige, whispering something. Paige's lips curled into a grin Brianna hadn't seen in days. Something in her snapped. She stepped forward louder than she intended. Wow, you sure make friends fast. Paige blinked, startled. The girl gave Brianna a polite smile before excusing herself, leaving the two of them standing there, tension thick as smoke. Brianna crossed her arms, eyes narrowed. So, is this your idea of temporary too? Paige's jaw tightened. She's just a friend. Oh, right. Just like I'm just your stand-in. The words slipped out before Brianna could stop them. Paige's expression darkened. You think that's all you are to me? Brianna swallowed hard, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. I don't know. You tell me. The silence between them was deafening. Paige's hands curled into fists in her pockets. And for once, she didn't have a comeback. Finally, Paige looked away, voice low and raw. You really don't get it, do you? She turned on her heel, walking down the hallway, leaving Brianna standing alone, her chest aching with words she couldn't say. Brianna bit her lip until it hurt, her vision blurring as she whispered to herself, why does it hurt so much if this was never supposed to be real? That night, her phone stayed silent. No teasing texts, no late-night calls. For the first time since it all began, Brianna realized what it felt like to miss someone she wasn't supposed to have in the first place. The rain came without warning, heavy, relentless, like the sky itself was angry. Brianna stood outside the campus gate, drenched and shivering. She hadn't meant to wait, but her feet refused to move. Then she saw her. Paige, running out with nothing but her hoodie pulled over her head, scanning the street like she was looking for someone. Their eyes met. Brianna's throat tightened. She almost turned away, but the words slipped out. "You didn't text me back." Paige stopped a few feet away, water dripping from her lashes. "You really waited for me?" Stupid, right? Brianna laughed bitterly, hugging her arms around herself. I told myself I wouldn't care. That this was just temporary. Paige's chest rose and fell, her voice shaking. "Do you have any idea how much it kills me when you say that?" Brianna blinked through the rain. "What?" "You think you're just some stand-in, some replacement. But you're not. You never were." Her words cut through the storm louder than the thunder. Brianna's lips parted, heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. "Then, what am I to you?" Paige stepped closer, close enough for Brianna to see the tears mixing with the rain. "You're the reason I can't sleep. The reason I smile without knowing why. You're..." She stopped herself, breath trembling, as if saying more would change everything. Brianna whispered, voice barely audible over the downpour. "Then prove it." For a second, it felt like the world held its breath. Paige reached out, fingertips brushing against Brianna's cheek, hesitant, fragile. But then she pulled her hand back, retreating like the touch had burned her. I can't." Brianna's chest hollowed. "Why not?" Paige bit her lip, eyes glimmering with something between guilt and longing. "Because once I cross that line, I won't be able to go back." And just like that, she turned away, vanishing into the rain, leaving Brianna standing there, half soaked, half broken. The storm raged on, and for the first time Brianna realized this was no longer just temporary. This was something she couldn't escape. The next day, the sky was painfully clear, blue and bright, like the rain never happened. But Brianna carried the storm inside her. Her phone buzzed. A group message. An invitation to a small gathering at a cafe near campus. Against her better judgment, she went. She told herself it was nothing. Just friends. Just noise to drown out the ache. Until she saw them. Paige sat at the corner table, smiling too brightly. And beside her a guy, tall, easy grin, leaning just a little too close. Brianna froze at the doorway, air knocked out of her lungs. The guy teased. "So you're saying you'll help me review for finals?" "I owe you big time." Paige laughed softly, the sound stabbing into Brianna like a knife. "Don't worry, I'm good at explaining things." Brianna forced herself to sit across from them, pretending not to notice the way. Paige's hand lingered too long on the table near his. Her chest screamed, "She never laughs like that with me." The guy turned, flashing a friendly smile. "Hey, you must be Brianna. Paige told me about you." Brianna's jaw tightened. "Yeah?" "She said you're dependable. Someone she can always count on." The words should have been a compliment, but they tasted like poison. Later, when the group broke apart, Brianna caught Paige by the counter. You're awfully close with him. Paige stiffened, glancing away. He's just a friend. Brianna's voice cracked, low and sharp. Funny, that's what I thought I was too. Paige's eyes widened, but Brianna didn't wait for a response. She walked out of the cafe, the bell above the door ringing like a cruel ending note. Outside, the wind felt colder than yesterday's rain. Brianna pressed a hand against her chest, as if she could physically hold the pieces together. She whispered to herself, "Temporary, right? That's all this is supposed to be." But her tears betrayed her, because nothing about the way she felt temporary anymore. The cafe door swung open. Paige rushed outside, breathless, calling out into the chilly air. "Brianna, wait!" Brianna's steps faltered, but she didn't turn. The sound of Paige's shoes hitting the pavement grew louder until a hand finally caught her wrist. "Why are you acting like this?" Paige's voice shook, desperate. Brianna slowly faced her, eyes glassy. "Because I'm tired, Paige. I'm tired of being the safe choice. The background. The one you run to when the world's too heavy, only to forget me the second someone else makes you laugh." Paige's lips parted, but no words came out. Her silence was louder than any excuse. Finally, Paige whispered, "He's nothing. Just a friend." Brianna let out a broken laugh. "Then why does it feel like you're building a future with him, while I'm stuck being temporary?" The word hung between them like a curse. Paige stepped closer, almost trembling. "You don't understand. It's not that simple." "Then make it simple." Brianna's voice cracked, sharp as glass. "For once, choose me. Or don't. But stop pulling me back every time I try to let go." The streetlight flickered above them, throwing shadows across their faces. Paige's eyes glistened, but still, no answer. Brianna pulled her wrist free, the absence of Paige's touch burning more than the grip itself. She whispered, barely audible, "You're gonna lose me, Paige." And then she walked away, each step heavier than the last, leaving Paige standing alone under the cold light. The night air was heavy, the kind that pressed on your chest and made it hard to breathe. Brianna stood at the edge of the empty street, her heart pounding as Paige slowly walked toward her. Brianna's eyes glistened, voice trembling. "I thought, if I loved you enough, maybe that would be enough." Paige stopped a few feet away, her smile weak, her eyes already glassy. "And I thought if I held on long enough, maybe the world would let us stay." Brianna swallowed hard, her voice breaking. "Why does it feel so right, yet so impossible?" Paige's lips quivered. She tried to laugh, but it came out as a sob. "Because we're not meant to be a forever. We're just meant to be a memory." Brianna stepped forward, reaching out, but stopped halfway, her hand frozen in the air. Her whole body trembled. "I don't want to lose you." Tears rolled down Paige's cheeks as she shook her head slowly. "You already are." The world seemed to blur around them. The last step closed the distance. Paige leaned in, pressing one final lingering kiss against Brianna's lips. It was soft, desperate, and full of everything they couldn't say. When Paige pulled away, she whispered, her breath trembling against Brianna's skin, "This is where our story ends." Brianna's tears finally fell, hot and uncontrollable. She tried to hold on, but Paige had already stepped back. With one last broken smile, Paige turned and walked away, her figure fading into the night, leaving Brianna standing there, shattered, yet forever in love. And in that silence, Brianna realized, some loves don't die. They just stay, unfinished. Some stories don't end with a happily ever after. Some stories end with silence, with distance, with a goodbye you never wanted to give. But even in heartbreak, love leaves its mark. Brianna and Paige will always carry it. Not as a promise, not as a forever, but as a memory that will live quietly inside their hearts. Because sometimes love isn't about holding on. It's about learning how to let go. This is Sapphic Love Files, where stories of love, no matter how fleeting, still find their voice. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because more stories of love, loss, and everything in between are waiting